Part 37. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 361. The Demon King is dead, so the Piper of Hamel should also have lost his power. But then again, why is Rattenfanger the Piper of Hamel? Shiroyasha looked a little puzzled, while Nationaza, who was watching this scene, shook her head in disappointment. Don't you even know this? You've really become more and more lazy after becoming a class ruler. Why should I know such inexplicable things? Do you think that being a class ruler is easy? There are many things to do every day. If I have to remember such trivial things, how can I have so much experience of? Shiroyasha retorted somewhat unhappily, while Nationaza didn't say anything and just glanced at Izayoi on the side. Even this kid knows it? Baby Uksha, you need to reflect on it. I know, what's going on, tell me what you know quickly. Shiroyasha said dissatisfiedly, staring at Izayoi with impatient eyes, letting the latter touch the tip of his nose helplessly. I am provoking someone, and knowing these things is accidental. He shook his head helplessly, and then Izayoi slowly began to explain. Rattenfanger is the language used in a country called Germany, and it means rat catcher. And this rat catcher is actually a metaphor for the Pied Piper of Hamel in Grimm's fairy tale. By the way, everyone knows Grimm's fairy tales, right? Everyone nodded, and Izayoi continued to speak. In the original Grimm's fairy tales, Hamel is the town where the story takes place, but there are several story creation stages that refer to historical research. The Piper of Hamel is also one of them. The inscription that was used as a prototype for the Grimm fairy tale The Piper of Hamel is as follows. In 1284, on June 26, the anniversary of John and Paul, 130 children born in Hamel were lured away by flute players wearing various colors, and finally disappeared at the execution ground near the hills. This inscription narrates an actual event that occurred in the town of Hamel and is displayed with a piece of stained glass. The Piper in this Grimm fairy tale is the Rattenfanger, who can be considered a person who can control mice. Manipulating mice. Both Asuka and Letitia made somewhat surprised sounds, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. What's wrong? Is something wrong? The startled breaths of the two attracted everyone's attention, and Izayoi asked a little strangely. Let me explain it, and Asuka can just add it. Letitia said this, and immediately told the specific situation of the attack that the two of them suffered last night. Of course, many places need to be supplemented by flying birds, such as the encounter with the elf and the Rattenfanger, as well as the red giant and the flute controlling the mouse. By the time the narrative was over, everyone's expressions became heavy. In other words, is it possible that the person the eldest lady met is the Piper of Hamel? Combined with the foreknowledge of the devil's attack, the guy in the prophecy could not be them. After making this judgment, Izayoi looked at the elf in Asuka's arms. But what's going on with this little guy? Is she also? No, those rats are targeting her. Is that so? Things are getting more and more interesting. Anyway, a Demon King community has sneaked into the competition you hosted. Shiroyasha, do you have any ideas? Izayoi faced Shiroyasha with a cheerful smile. There was no hint of worry in his words. On the contrary, he was very excited now. He finally had clues and news about the Demon King, and he could have a good fight. There is nothing we can do about it. After all, even I can't find out whether the other party is the Demon King before I have the permission to use it. Moreover, all participating guilds will undergo strict review before the competition, so at least the information is nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing we can do now is to wait for them to show their flaws. Don't worry, they won't be able to pull off any tricks with me in charge. Shiroyasha said proudly. In order to deal with this Demon King's attack, I have arranged the minimum countermeasures. That is, using my organizer authority, I have added some conditions to the festival participation rules. You can refer to this for details. Shiroyasha waved his finger and a piece of glowing parchment appeared, which recorded various matters of the birth ceremony. Fire Dragon Birth Festival. Things to note when participating in the festival. 1. It is prohibited for ordinary participants to hold community competition gift games in the stage area and free area. 2. Participants with organizer authority are prohibited from entering the festival area without the permission of the festival organizer. 3. Participants are prohibited from using organizer authority within the festival area. 4. Persons other than participants are prohibited from intruding into the stage area and free areas within the festival area. Oath: respect the above content, and organize the gift game in the name of the honor and flag and the authority of the organizer. Thousand I Seal Salamandra Seal. Izaoi nodded slightly after reading the parchment that appeared in front of him. Except participants cannot enter the game and participants cannot use the organizer's rights. Indeed, according to this rule, even if the devil attacks, the organizer's rights cannot be used. Well, in short, you should have controlled everything you can control, right? Byaksha said this, and everyone present nodded in agreement. No, that's not the case. Byaksha has another fatal flaw in your rules. When everyone felt that Shiroyasha's rules were perfect, Nationaza shook her head gently and said this. Loophole, what is the loophole? Shiroyasha asked a little strangely, while Nationaza looked at her. The loophole is you. This rule is based on your organizer authority. Once your authority is restricted or interfered with, all these rules will be in vain. Nationaza said this, and Shiroyasha showed a somewhat amused expression. I told you, Nasha, you underestimate me too much. Do you think the lower-level Demon King community can have the ability to limit my authority? The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 362. Well, who knows, don't cry and beg me to save you then. Seeing Shiroyasha's confident look, Nationaza shrugged and said this with an indifferent expression. She was just here to play in the festival anyway, and the attack by the Demon King had nothing to do with her. In fact, she also hoped to see Byaksha make a fool of herself, so that she could laugh at her to her heart's content. Boundary Wall, Stage Area, Fire Dragon Birth Festival Operations Headquarters. Amidst the deafening cheers, the Wu-Ming group sat in the operator's special seats. Since there are no vacancies in the general seats, Sandora made special arrangements to prepare seats for everyone on the balcony of the headquarters where they can watch the battle from above the stage. As for Nasha, Naza, and Afis, they did not sit with Black Rabbit and the others because they did not belong to the Nameless. Originally, Shandora wanted to give them the most prominent position, but Nationaza politely refused. The girl obviously didn't want to attract attention, just like she had come to participate in the Fire Dragon Birth Festival many times, she just played alone and silently. Of course, although Yayu was also a nameless person, he was pulled over by Nasha. Next up was the creator game that Kazukabyo participated in. After the appearance of Kuro Rabbit as the host, the atmosphere in the entire venue became extremely lively. I've kept you waiting for so long. The final of the Duel of the Creators, the final gift game of the Fire Dragon Birth Festival, is about to begin. The hosting and refereeing work will be done by the exclusive referee of Thousand Eyes, the familiar Black Rabbit. Responsible for serving everyone. Black Rabbit, who stood on the center stage and presided over the game, started to announce the start of the game with a perfect smile to the audience. However, since it is rare to see a rabbit known as the Hakoniya Noble in the lower floors, after Black Rabbit finished speaking, the atmosphere in the entire venue was almost boiling, and the strange roar that exceeded the cheers even made the stage hence the shaking. Oh, is it the gift game of the little girl named Kazukabyoshi? Nationaza said curiously. Below, Kazukabyoshi had already arrived under the stage and was about to board it. And just after Nationaza finished speaking, the host Black Rabbit's voice rang out again. Then the first round of the competition has officially begun, and we invite the contestant no name Yoshi Kazukabe. Although they are an unknown community with little impression, Kazukabe Yoshi's wonderful performance in previous games seems to have won many fans. As she appeared on the stage, the entire venue burst into warm cheers. Then there's Will-O-Wisp's Aisha Ignifates. At this moment, a blue fireball quickly swept past Yao and knocked her to the ground. On the fireball, Asia Ignifates from Will-O-Wisp swung her twin ponytails and wore a black and white gothic Lolita-style gorgeous lace skirt, teasing Yao in a cute but arrogant tone. Ah ha 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 ha. Look, have you seen it? Jack. The guy from No Name fell to the ground ugly. He, okay, let's laugh at her thoroughly. Bar. Ah ho 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 ho. The audience burst into laughter, some mocking, some showing goodwill, and some trying to liven up the atmosphere, but Yao didn't care at all, and his eyes fell on the figure that jumped out of the fireball. This, could it be? Yes, this guy is a gift from our Will-O-Wisp, the famous ghost. Jack-o'-lantern. Ah. A lantern burning with flames, a disembodied light black cloth costume, and a huge pumpkin head with a burning heart. Yes, this guy is definitely the famous pumpkin monster in Halloween, and he is also the existence that Asuka has always longed for, but now, Asuka is not lucky enough to see it. Humph, just for having the opportunity to be my opponent, you should be crying and thanking me, you nameless ones. Aisha walked up to Yao, put her hands on her hips and made an extremely proud declaration, but Yao then he turned away with a hum sound. What? Faced with Aisha's anger, Yao gently shook off the dust and calmly stood up and ignored it. All right, you two, please take your places. Then, before the first round of the game begins, I would like to ask Shiroya-sama to explain the stage. Black Rabbit extended his hand towards the palace balcony and declared solemnly. The president immediately fell into silence, and Yao and Aisha also looked towards the high platform. Seeing this change, Yaksha stood up from his seat and lightly jumped to the edge of the high platform. Well, thank you all for your cooperation. I won't say much else. Then, in the name of the organizer's authority, let me prepare the battle stage for you. After saying that, Yaksha smiled and stretched his hand to his chest to pat it. After taking a shot, a huge dark space suddenly enveloped the two women and the entire arena. Shirayaksha's game ground. Yeah, you, who had seen this scene before, muttered curiously. He looked at Nesha and Neza, who was sitting next to him looking lazy, and asked curiously. Do you think Yao can win? Well, that little girl. Her life directory is a man-made gift, and it is indeed an incredible thing. Although the potential is very huge, with the current level of control, it is difficult to communicate with an external person with 6 layers. The elite level confrontation between the community is still a bit fanciful. So, Yao is destined to lose. It's impossible to win. Although the jack-o'-lantern is also a man-made product, it is a demon, and that girl is just a human. That's right, Yao's own strength is still a bit too weak. Yeah, you nodded in agreement. After all, the race called devils is recognized by the world as extraordinary individuals with independent spiritual personalities. That kind of existence is definitely not something that the current Yao can defeat. However, now is not the time to watch the game, they are coming. While the audience was watching the game excitedly, Neza raised her head and looked at the sky. Oh! Listening to what Neza said, yeah, you also showed some concern, and he also felt some unusual aura approaching the venue. The Demon King, is he already here? The gift game was going on lively, and at the same time, the realm wall was 2,000 meters above the ground. In the distant sky, 3 figures suddenly appeared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 363. The boundary wall is 2,000 meters above the ground. Far high in the sky, 3 figures stood on the protrusions of the realm wall. One is a woman wearing revealing white clothing. This woman with white hair and looks to be in her 20s is playing a flute that is about as long as her upper arm in her right hand, looking down at the stage below her. It looks like the game has already started. It's very lively. La Ting first looked at the chaotic stage area at her feet, and then at the petite girl standing next to her. The contestants who are qualified to be our opponents, including the little girl Salamandra, should be 4 people, right? Wiser, after La Ting finished speaking, she looked at the male companion next to her. No, 3 people. That pumpkin is not eligible to participate. The particularly difficult ones are the vampires and the fire dragons of the class rulers, and we also need to deal with the fake Rattenfanger wearing a contrasting black military uniform and short black hair. The man known as Weezer responded to La Ting's question. The flute he held in his hand was different from La Ting's, and its length was even as high as that of a tall man. It's obviously an unusual length for an instrument. And between La Ting and Weezer is the initiator of this Demon Lord game, the last remaining Demon Lord of the Grim Grimoire. This is a petite and cute girl wearing a black and white spotted patterned dress. There is no expression on her cold and inorganic face, and she looks very similar to Off-Eyes. There is also something similar to a magic flute behind the girl. It is made of a material similar to pottery and has a smooth appearance, with many ventilation holes dug out all over the body. If you want to give a simple example, this giant soldier, which is probably 50 feet in length, is like an anthropomorphic flute. There was a particularly huge vent on the face, which kept emitting weird sounds and vibrations to the surroundings. As long as the Demon King of Byakuya is restrained, the others should be no match for the master. Of course, I think so too. The 2 men said this, but there was not much confidence in their eyes. Hearing this conversation, the girl from the spotted group declared in a flat tone without emotion. Start the gift game and act according to the predetermined plan. Okay. What should I do with the troublesome guy? Kill him directly. As you command, my master. At the same time, at the game venue, the competition was coming to an end. Although Yao tried his best, he still lost the game in the end. It was still too difficult to fight against an opponent of this level with the strength of a girl. And just when the game was over and Black Rabbit was about to award rewards to the winners, a sudden change occurred. In the sky, dark contract documents fell down. Like rain, a large number of black letters dropped from the distant sky. Seeing the letter falling to his side, Yayu casually picked up one and opened it. After opening the sealing wax with the image of the Pied Piper, the deed document reads, the name of the gift game, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. List of contestants, a community of all participants and organizers currently in the 399-9999 Outer Gate, 40 million Outer Gate, and the Realm Wall stage area. The contestant side and the organizer designate the game leader, the runner of the sun, the star spirit, Byakuya. Victory conditions for the organizer: conquer or kill all participants. Victory conditions for the contestants: 1. Defeat the organizer's game leader. 2. Break the hypocritical inheritance and establish a real inheritance. Oath: respect the above content and hold a gift game based on the honor, flag, and organizer's authority. Grim.Gimoire.Hameln seal. Interesting, have you started? You actually used Bayasha's authority to launch this Demon King game. I have to say that this little girl is really smart. While Yayu was looking at the contract document in his hand, Nation and Naisha on the other side were also looking at the document. But unlike Yayu, who took effect immediately after getting the contract document in Nationess's hand turned into ashes and disappeared. Hey, what's going on? Yayu stared at Nayashanisa with some curiosity, while the latter smiled proudly. Even if I have Shiroyashi's authority as the organizer, don't let me get caught up in the game. In other words, I am an outsider in this Demon King game. Shirayasha, she is so clever that she is misled by her cleverness. It's a good thing now. I am restricted by my organizer's authority. I really want to see what her expression looks like now. Nayashanisha smiled like this, a very evil smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, and she looked at the high platform not far away. That place was now surrounded by a black storm. Aren't you going to take action? Yeah, you looked at Nasha and asked, and the latter shook his head gently. Don't forget, my identity is the Demon King. Wouldn't you think it would be strange if I took action? Why should I help the class ruler who is the Demon King's natural enemy? Nation and Nasa shrugged and said so matter-of-factly. Only then did Yayu realize that the girl in front of him was the leader of the largest Demon King community. That's true, so I'll go there first. Anyway, I am also a member of the unknown, and now it seems that I have become a member of this game. Yayu said this and touched the tip of his nose helplessly, then rushed towards the stage area. At this time, the entire stage area was in chaos. People shouted the Demon King has appeared and ran towards the exit in random directions. Kazukabyo looked worriedly at the chaotic crowd around her, wanting to join up with her nameless friends, but unfortunately she couldn't move at all in the chaotic scene in front of her. Yao, are you okay? Just as Yao was looking around, a figure came to her side and said with concern. Is it Yayu? Where is Master Nasha and Nasha? Yao asked a little strangely without seeing Nasha and Nasha. If Nasha and Nasha are willing to take action in this situation, they should be able to get out of the predicament easily. Already. Nasha is the Demon King. It's too much to expect her to take action. Shiroyasha seems to have encountered some trouble. It seems that we can only rely on our nameless dot. Hey, is it like this? But despite this, with the strength of you and the young lady in red, it is still too difficult to face the Demon King. If you can, you should take refuge for the time being, and leave it to me and Izayoi to fight the enemy. Yayu said this, and regardless of Kazukabyo's objections, he picked up the girl like a princess and rushed towards the stage. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 364. At the game venue, on the high platform of the palace at the Salamandra Operations Headquarters, Shiroyaksha and Sandora also read the Demon King's contract document. Both of them were stunned by this sudden attack. Just when Byaksha was about to do something, suddenly, a gust of black wind swept up Byaksha's body and spun around her. What? Lord Shiroyasha. Sandora reached out to Byaksha, but as soon as she touched the barrier formed by the black wind, the wind suddenly increased and everyone on the high platform was blown away from the high platform. The current situation is that the Demon King has appeared, right? After landing in a hurry, Izayoi asked the Black Rabbit next to him. Yes, Black Rabbit nodded with a serious expression, and the atmosphere became solemn. But Izayoi was the only one who moved his gaze back and forth expectantly, probably looking for the incoming Demon King. Haha, you are worthy of being the Demon King. If we attack so blatantly, if we don't fight back properly, wouldn't it make us look stingy? And just when Izayoi was making such an excited declaration, Yayu from the other side also rushed over with Kazukabyo in his arms. Can you put me down? He said this reluctantly, and immediately Kazukabyo jumped out of Yayu's arms. What should we do? Are we going to fight here? Asuka on the side said this involuntarily. Now there are only a few of them and Wyoming here. Byaksha seems to be trapped, and although the soldiers of Salamandra are maintaining order, they have little effect. Leave it to me to fight. I don't think you can compete with me, right Yayu? Let me arrange the two young ladies for the time being. I will also go see if Shiroyaksha's situation is good and see if I can help. Then I'll leave it to you. As for me, go meet the enemy now. Don't be careless, Izayoi-kun, that one is also the Demon King after all, Black Rabbit reminded him carefully from the side. Don't worry, at this level, you are really weak compared to that adult. Izayoi laughed extremely excitedly, and then his whole body shot up straight like a spring. Izayoi-kun, please don't act recklessly. Seeing Izayoi rushing over recklessly, Black Rabbit couldn't help but yelled helplessly, but the other party obviously couldn't hear her words. One foot suddenly stepped on the realm wall, and Izayoi was firmly nailed vertically to the top like a nail. He took a deep breath as if to calm down his emotions, and then he yelled and ran wildly along the realm wall. What? This scream came from Wiser, a man in black military uniform who was descending. Izayoi, who was running with all his strength, arrived in front of the man in less than a second. The cold wind pressure brought by him pushed his whole body backwards. He just subconsciously yelled what, and then his entire body was grabbed by the collar of his clothes and smashed into the wall of the realm wall by Izayoi. His whole body was completely trapped in the huge crack, and Wiser looked at Izayoi who was laughing crazily and holding his collar with fierce eyes. You guy, you just came out of nowhere, Wiser thought strangely as a strong man who suddenly appeared that did not match the information. I have been looking forward to it for a long time, Lord Demon King, please make me happy. Izayoi laughed boldly, stepped on the rock wall of the realm wall with brute force, and ran on the cliff at a horizontal angle. Weezer was dragged forward by Izayoi, his face kept rubbing against the rock wall, and then he suddenly stopped with a huge crack. But despite this, there are still no wounds visible on Weezer's body. Ha ha ha, you are indeed the Demon King. You are so thick-skinned that you can fight against the city wall. Weird boy, don't look down on people. Although he was not injured, Wiser was annoyed by being humiliated like this. He waved the flute-like stick in his hand, causing a strange wind and slashing towards Izayoi. The rock wall of the realm wall began to squirm like a living thing, and in an instant, Izayoi's feet fell into the black mud-like object. The man in military uniform who escaped from Izayoi's hand spat out the blood in his mouth with a gloomy expression and said in a deep voice, "You really have a way. I didn't expect that you would be robbed of the opportunity. Haha, thank you very much. I am very confident. No matter good or bad, breaking expectations is my special skill." Not paying attention to the restraints on his feet at all, Izayoi smiled while looking at the two men and women. While the two were talking, the giant soldier made of pottery and the girl in the spotted dress had fallen directly, while another scantily clad lady was suspended to the side and yelled at the man in military uniform. "Weezer! Solve it quickly." "Huh? Then why not just use your flute to catch her? That would be faster, right?" "Ah, that's right." The woman who said this put the flute to her mouth. At this moment, the spectators who were running away in panic below all stopped. The ominous sound couldn't help but spread, and the audience fell to the ground softly as if they were being controlled. "Oh? Is this sound the magic flute? So is this woman the real mouse clown?" Izayoi blinked in slight surprise, not being affected by the powerful sound of the magic flute at all. How is this possible? Is my voice useless?" Seeing Izayoi who was as if nothing had happened, the woman took a breath of air and her beautiful lips trembled. "Lating, you go down first. If the master is left alone, she will kill everyone." Probably knowing how extraordinary Izayoi was, the man in military uniform named Wiser winked at the woman and said so. "Tisk, was there an accident at the beginning?" After taking a deep look at Izayoi, the woman called Lating fell directly downwards without stopping. "I really don't understand, why did you let her go?" Seeing that Izayoi didn't show any signs of pursuing her, Wiser looked at Izayoi with a tentative and surprised look. "It's nothing, the reason is simple, because there are monsters down there that are more powerful than me." Izayoi said this with a sarcastic smile, while Wiser, the Demon King's servant in front of him, looked disapproving. "Are you talking about Shiroyasha? As a class ruler, She is indeed very strong, but it is useless. She will never escape from that bondage. Shiroyasha? When did I say that their opponent would be Shiroyasha? Izayoi said with a mysterious face, looking at Weezer with a somewhat surprised expression. Could it be that there are other strong people besides the boy in front of him? The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 365. What exactly is this flute sound? Letitia frowned slightly as she listened to the strange flute sound that sounded from high in the sky. Anyway, at least it seems to be quiet now. Neither Yayu, Letitia, nor Black Rabbit were affected by the sound of the flute, but it seemed that Asuka, Yao and Ren's faces looked a little ugly. Are you guys okay? It's okay, I just feel a little uncomfortable. The sound of the flute soon stopped, and all the ordinary audience members around them fell asleep. The originally lively stage suddenly became quiet, which was a bit unaccustomed. Yayu looked around but did not see Naisha, and did not know where the other party had gone. Let's go and meet Sandora and the others first to see what's going on with Byakusha. Yayu said this and everyone in the unknown nodded. But just when they were about to leave, two more figures approached. It looks like there is no way to leave. Two more people came down. That huge thing should be some kind of gifted weapon. Letitia said with great vigilance as she watched the Lolita in a spotted dress, the sexy woman in the white cloak, and the huge pottery flute-like weapon behind them slowly descending from the sky. Black Rabbit, you protect everyone, Mr. Yayu and I will go to meet the enemy. Letitia opened her dark red wings as she spoke, intending to rise into the air. Hey, Letitia, don't forget that I can't fly. Yayu shouted from below, and Letitia started to shout, showing a somewhat troubled expression. I always feel, this is so stupid. Making a very cute sound, Letitia immediately hugged Yayu and flew upward. Black Rabbit, you go and fight too. We can leave here by ourselves. Looking at Black Rabbit who looked worried and hesitant, Ren stepped forward and said. This is the only way, Master Ren, we all rely on you in desperation. Black Rabbit could only entrust Ren with the important task. Don't worry, I will definitely protect everyone. As the only male at this moment, although he was still a little scared, Ren still agreed with determination. Then, everyone, take care of yourself, Black Rabbit said, jumping up onto the realm wall with a sudden jump, and followed Letitia and Yayu forward together. Obviously Yayu and Izayoi are fighting, but I have to run away in a hurry. This feeling is really inexplicably unpleasant, Juyuan Asuka said with a bitter smile, but she knew that now is not the time to be willful, and she can only be safe as soon as possible. Only by leaving the battlefield can Black Rabbit and others not be distracted. As the unknown people evacuated the dangerous area and moved towards the stage, the striped Lolita girl also waved her spacious sleeves and stopped in front of Black Rabbit, Letitia, and Yayu. Her posture was helpless and elegant. Picky. Behind the girl, the giant pottery soldier sucked in air through the vents on its body, creating atmospheric vortexes in all directions. Woo! The air vibrated in response to the strange sound. The turbulent vortex generated on the ground began to absorb the surrounding rubble. Letitia originally spread her wings to fly in the air, but was sucked into the turbulence caused by the enemy and was unable to move smoothly. Moon Rabbit and Vampire, with his lowered eyes scanning the faces of Black Rabbit and Letitia, the striped Lolita girl said in a lazy tone lacking interest. As for Yayu, who was being held by Letitia, he was simply ignored. He couldn't even fly. There was no need to care about such a small character. You are so weak, are you really a pure vampire? Forget it, Shutram, I don't want this girl anymore. Penetrating Letitia's heart with eyes that lacked vitality, the spotted girl launched a fierce attack with a huge ceramic weapon more than 10 meters below her body. An invisible vortex appeared in the hole of the weapon, and all the surrounding air was sucked into it. A huge storm raged, and the entire space made a harsh and unpleasant whistling sound. Such an attack made Letitia's body sway even more. Storm, storm. Then that giant soldier should be a demon related to natural disasters. Letitia's red eyes flashed when she heard the spotted girl call out the giant soldier's name. It's time to find other targets and kill her. The girl was ruthlessly sentenced to death. The moment the words fell, the pottery giant known as Shutram rapidly compressed the absorbed air, and a powerful compression cannon erupted from the hole and sprayed towards Letitia. Letitia, who was holding Yayu, could not easily dodge, but Yayu, who had been observing the strange weapon and the lowly girl in a spotted dress with interest, quickly reacted and raised his hand to send a wave of ice. The shield appeared in front of the two of them. With a loud bang, the ice shield blocking the two people was shattered in an instant, and the fragments scattered like sharp blades. Taking advantage of the moment when Yayu blocked the opponent's attack, the black rabbit on the side also reacted quickly, took out the golden spear from the gift card, and pierced the chest of the spotted girl Demon King like lightning. "Did you make it?" "Not at all," the girl Demon King responded in an uninflected tone. The tip of the spear was placed a few inches in front of the girl's chest. The black ominous wind formed a small sphere and wrapped around the golden tip of the spear. Black Rabbit's surprise attack failed. "Play any role." The girl with an evil smile looked at Black Rabbit, and more black wind was released from the huge cuffs of her hands to restrain her. What is this? This wind." Black Rabbit looked at the strange existence attacking him in a panic. It was not as dark as a shadow, nor as frantic as a storm, nor as hot wind. If I had to describe it, it would be a dark, lukewarm, and strange wind. The spotted girl lifted Black Rabbit's chin and smiled slightly. "It's so dangerous. I almost got penetrated. This spear feels the power of the Godhead. Is it worthy of being the moon rabbit of the little garden nobles? You look very good. Do you want to be mine? Peace." The girl with black and white spots giggled, and the black wind covered the black rabbit's body, as if it wanted to corrode and devour her. "Hey, how long do you want to ignore me? The rabbit you tease is my rabbit." Yayu said this, diverting the attention of the young Demon King, while the trapped black rabbit showed a very helpless expression. "Mr. Yayu, don't make jokes like this at this time. People will be very troubled. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai. Chapter 366. Mr. Yayu, it's not funny at all to joke around at this time. Come and save me quickly. It's an emergency like this. Black Rabbit made a cry for help, and at this time, the girl devil in a spotted dress finally noticed Yayu's presence. "Your rabbit, oh, are you the owner of Moon Rabbit?" The Demon King girl asked curiously, and was immediately met with Black Rabbit's retort. "No. Black Rabbit is not anyone's private property." "Oh, then it becomes mine," the Demon King girl declared with a wicked smile, and immediately put a hand towards Black Rabbit's face. "So, am I really that insignificant? It's a little too much." Saying this lazily, the girl Demon King immediately found that her movements became sluggish. With a somewhat surprised look on her face, the girl discovered that densely packed ice fragments appeared on her body. These ice fragments adhered to her body, making her movements extremely slow. Not only that, the surrounding temperature also dropped rapidly. Looking back in surprise, the girl Demon King soon found that the man she had ignored walked out of the vampire's arms through the void. It wasn't that he was floating there, but that he actually stepped on something and stood in front of her. "Interesting, you look very simple too." After observing carefully for a while, the girl devil showed a look of understanding. "I see, is it ice?" Yayu was not floating there in the air, he was stepping on things, and these things were ice. The ice cubes couldn't float out of thin air like this. Yayu just kept solidifying the ice cubes under his feet, which created the illusion of standing in the void. I'm interested in you. What do you think? Do you want to be mine? The girl Demon King said this in an extremely ambiguous tone, making Yayu look dumbfounded. Just when he was about to speak, a red flash of light shot straight from the distance, and instantly penetrated behind the girl Demon King. Strange ceramic giants wreaking havoc. Her gift was simply destroyed, but the girl devil showed no sign of anger. She raised her head and looked into the distance with a slight smile on her lips. Has it finally appeared? Salamandra's fire dragon, Sandora. Surrounded by the flame dragon pattern, the young face of Shandora, the class ruler of the North District, was full of seriousness. I've been waiting for a long time, and I was worried that you might have escaped. The girl's spotted skirt was flowing in the wind. She smiled and looked at Sandora. What is your purpose? The Demon King of Hamel. Ah, you are mistaken. The official name of my gift is Black Death Spotted Demon King. Humph. You are acting so recklessly. As the guardian of order, I will never let you go. Sandora said this and used the dragon horn inheritance of the first-generation leader of Salamandra, the Zingai Dragon King, to release a powerful dragon-shaped flame. Really? It's amazing, the ruler of the hierarchy. The girl laughed without hesitation. A strange black storm swept through the flames, and the two impacts caused space distortion. Black Rabbit, are you okay? On the other side, because of Sandora's participation in the battle, Yayu and Letitia, who were free for the time being, came to the Black Rabbit. Looking at the dark whirlwind surrounding the Black Rabbit, Letitia frowned slightly. Black Rabbit's condition doesn't look very good. She can't even speak because of the black whirlwind. This thing is a curse of hating others and devouring life. The moment he came into contact with the black whirlwind, Yayu clearly discovered what it was. This kind of breath was too familiar to him, and it was exactly the same as the sin of this world in his body. Of course, this does not mean that they are exactly the same, there are still subtle differences. The weight of the curse in front of me is slightly weaker than the sins of this world. Curse? The Black Death Spotted Demon King, can you tell me the identity of this girl? Listening to what Yayu said, Letitia seemed to have thought of something and spoke with some uncertainty. Forget it for now, Yayu, can you rescue the Black Rabbit? Let me give it a try. Fire is its absolute nemesis, but I don't know if frost is the same. As Yayu said this, his hands passed through the black whirlwind and grabbed the Black Rabbit's hands. Letitia on the side looked slightly stunned. Even she didn't dare to touch it casually due to this curse, but Yayu just stretched out his hand without blinking. The terrible cold air was released along Yayu's hands. Just as Letitia looked at Black Rabbit's reaction with some fear, the black whirlwind dissipated. Woo! He let out a mournful cry and fell softly into Yayu's arms. Black Rabbit shivered slightly and soon woke up. Ah, it's so cold, why is it so cold? Well, my power characteristics are like this, and there's nothing I can do about it. Yayu shrugged apologetically and looked at the shivering rabbit with some amusement. The latter fell into Letitia's arms and felt a little more comfortable. Wow, you are really careless, but this force is really terrifying. After being involved, you have no ability to resist at all. If this is the case, wouldn't Lady Sandora be in danger? Let's go help her quickly. Don't worry about that. Sandora's power is absolutely restrained by the Demon King. It should be the Demon King who is in a tough fight now. Yayu said this. Sandora is a descendant of the fire dragon, and the blood of the fire dragon flows in her body. Her power is absolutely restrained against this evil power. Listening to Yayu's analysis, Letitia frowned slightly. She had been guessing from the beginning, and now listening to Yayu's words, she was basically able to determine who the Demon King was. If you can analyze the identity of the other party, you can basically know how to deal with it. The Demon King with black death spots, and yeah, you just said that her power has the nature of curse and resentment, coupled with the power that can imprison Lord Shiro Yaksha. I think her identity should not be difficult to guess. You mean, the Black Death? Black Rabbit also thought of something, and showed a somewhat surprised look on his face. Only Yayu was a little confused and didn't know what the two girls were talking about. Yes, her godhead should be the embodiment of the Black Disease, the aggregation of the resentment of tens of millions of people who died tragically. Letitia said this word for word with an extremely solemn expression. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 367. The Grand Festival Operations Headquarters, the game venue and the palace are connected to the high platform. Jin came here with Kazukabyo and Kuanasuka. The three people gathered around Shiro Yaksha, who was surrounded by a black storm, and asked at a loss. Lord Shiro Yasha. How is the situation inside? I don't know. But according to the contents of the contract document, it seems that I can't participate in the war. Yaksha smacked his tongue, and the expression on his face became extremely solemn. Where is Black Rabbit? We can only rely on her now. Let her use the judge's authority to suspend the game as soon as possible. This game may have deliberately left instructions incomplete when making the rules. This is what some demon kings will use techniques. The worst case scenario is that there is no way to crack this game at all. But Kuro Yosagi and the others went to fight the Demon King. There were 3 Demon Kings in total. Listening to what Shiro Yasha said, both Asuka and Yao looked helpless. Tisk, there is nothing we can do. You hurry up and inform Black Rabbit. The only way is to rely on her to delay time. And I have almost thought of the way they will seal me. It should be. Just when Shiro Yasha was giving important instructions to Jin and others, in the stage area, he heard the sound of the flute. In addition to being unconscious, there was also a group of salamanders belonging to Salamandra wandering around. Hot sparks continued to spit out from their mouths, and there was a fanatical atmosphere in their eyes. Obviously, although he did not fall into a coma because of the weird flute sound, he seemed to become violent because of the flute sound. What, it's really troublesome. I can't even relax at the festival even if I want to. Apart from these lizardmen, the only ones who can move freely are Off-Eyes and Nesha Nisa. Nesha and Neza said this helplessly, while Off-Eyes on the other side squatted very cutely next to an unconscious spectator, gently poking him with his hand. Why did everyone suddenly fall asleep? The sound of the flute is charming, but it won't have any effect on you. Nesha said this, and Off-Eyes tilted his head cutely. She seemed to hear something, but she didn't feel anything. While Nesha, Nisa, and Off-Eyes were communicating, the lizardmen came closer and surrounded the 2 girls. I originally thought that there was no one worth caring about, but I didn't expect that there are still 2 talents here. Do you want to become our master's thing? La Ting, who was wearing scantily clad clothes, slowly floated down from the sky. A large number of salamanders with blood-red eyes had gathered under her, and they were all controlled by the sound of her flute. Well, Demon King? No, it doesn't seem to be the case. Seeing La Ting's appearance, Nayashanisa was stunned for a moment, and then showed a lack of interest after discovering the other party's identity. The woman in front of me is not a demon, and she does not have the authority of the organizer. I'm not interested in playing with you. I'm going back to rest. Let's go, Off-Eyes. Nayashanisha said this, waving to Off-Eyes behind her, and had no intention of paying attention to La Ting's meaning in the sky. You want to leave? Do you think you can leave? Catch them, be careful not to kill them. As La Ting gave the order, a lizard man breathed out flames and charged. Nesha and Nisa didn't even look at the lizard man jumping over. Off-Eyes behind her gently raised a hand and immediately extinguished the flames in the air, leaving the lizard man behind. He screamed and fell to the ground. Oh, it's interesting. No wonder you can't be affected by the sound of my flute. Come on together. La Ting showed some concern, and immediately waved her hand to signal the lizard men to attack the two women together. However, after La Ting gave the order, none of the lizard men made any move. La Ting saw that all the lizard men were huddled there and shivering. They are just some bastards with meager dragon blood. They dare to stand in front of us. It is considered brave. Looking at the scornful smiles of those lizard people, Nesha and Nisa, she hadn't even revealed her aura yet, and just the vague aura exuded by off-eyes had already made them crawl on the ground in fear. Interesting, you two are also dragons. I wonder what it has to do with the leader of Salamandra, the class ruler who is still a little girl. La Ting showed some interest, and now she wanted to get these two girls even more. I originally thought that there was no talent worth paying attention to in the entire Salamandra, but I didn't expect to encounter two. Humph, is there blood pressure? It's really unrealistic to expect these lizards, La Ting said with a coquettish smile on her lips, and immediately raised the flute in her hand. The high, low, and high sounds of the magic flute sounded again in front of the stage. This timbre was different from the dissonant tone just now. It stimulated the senses of Nesha, Nessa, and Off-Eyes with a sweet and seductive tone. However, La Ting's proud gift had no effect on the two women in front of her, and the look on Nationess's face became more and more playful. It's quite nice music. Have you played enough? How come, why doesn't it work for you? A look of extreme surprise appeared on La Ting's face. The sound of the flute this time was completely different from the one not long ago, but it could not completely have no effect on the two women in front of her. Well, it seems you haven't figured it out yet, the absolute gap between us. Looking at the so-called Demon King members in front of her, Nationessa said this, and her appearance began to change immediately. Is this breath, the pure blood of a dragon? Originally she was just a little surprised, but now it turned into fear. La Ting looked at the girl in front of her in disbelief, and looked at the top of her head. Spiral dragon horns emerge, as well as a long dragon tail. The dragon's horns and dragon's tail may not be the iconic features of pure dragon blood, but the aura of the girl in front of him is more terrifying than her master. What else can such an existence be besides the pure blood of a dragon? Why is the pure blood of the dragon appearing here? Why does this kind of strength appear at such a low level? Shouldn't the young leader be the strongest among Salamandra? Are you a servant of the Demon King? Then, let's play a game. Looking at La Ting with a horrified look on her face, Nationessa chuckled, and then slowly extended a hand towards her. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai. Chapter 368. Tisk, I didn't plan to take action originally. Forget it, if we solve it earlier, we can reopen the festival earlier. Shiroyasha, you owe me a big favor. Said so lazily, Nationessa immediately stretched her hand towards La Ting. Since it's the Demon King, let's use the Demon King solution, use the Demon King game to solve it. As she said this, the corners of Naisha's mouth slowly raised, and then the dark contract document slowly fell into La Ting's hand. La Ting wanted to escape and stay away from the contract document, but she couldn't do it no matter what. She could only watch the contract fall into her hands. Because this is the prerogative of the organizer of the Demon King, it is exactly the same forced game that her master used not long ago. Gift game name, Death Game. Organizer, Demon King Nationessa. Participant, La Ting. Victory conditions, kill the opponent. Bets, everything. Oath, respect the above content and hold a gift game based on the honor, flag, and authority of the organizer. The game of death is a game of naked sacrifice to life without any gorgeous cover-up or decoration. There was no way or room for resistance. The moment he came into contact with the dark contract document, the contract was established. Why, since we are both demon lords. Why do you want to kill me? There should be no conflict of interest between us. If our actions have disturbed you, sir, I apologize for this, and if you want to compensate me, please just bring it up. Gritting her teeth, unwilling to be killed by the pure blood of the dragon in front of her, La Ting raised the flute in her hand and immediately made a gesture to meet the enemy. Did you make a mistake? Don't you still know who the Demon King is as a follower? The so-called Demon King is a being who does whatever he wants. What kind of things they do and what kind of decisions they make. Do you need a reason? Nation Isa said this with a sinister smile, and then her palm continued to slowly move towards La Ting. She wanted to dodge but found that her body was completely unable to move. La Ting just watched helplessly as the opponent's palm pierced her body, with bright blood splashing out. Blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Before she could finish her words, terrifying power surged from Nation Isa's palm to La Ting's whole body. It was a terrifying power that could not be described in words, as if it existed solely for the purpose of destruction and destruction. La Ting knew that she was finished. She didn't have the slightest strength to resist, so she was killed by the opponent so easily. Is this the true power of the Demon King? The power of dragon pure bloods? What a despairing gap, with such a terrifying existence, we are just as insignificant and ridiculous as ants in this small garden. It's over, I'm sorry, Master, La Ting can no longer accompany you. I hope you can fulfill your tragic wish and complete your revenge. The body functions have been completely destroyed by Naisha, and La Ting's eyes have lost their vitality. The flute that had been held in her hand slowly broke into pieces. La Ting closed her eyes peacefully, and her body turned into a pale white light and slowly disappeared. Oh, is the flute the real thing? But it's a pity that you met me. Looking at La Ting who had disappeared, Nayashanisa curled her lips slightly, raised her head and looked around. The people who were controlled by the flute sound and those who were knocked unconscious were slowly waking up. Let's go off eyes, since we've already taken action, let's go to the end and solve the other troubles as well. As Naisha said this, she raised her head and looked at the sky. There were still 2 battles going on at the realm wall. Regarding La Ting's death, the expression on Aphiza's face did not change at all. For the infinite dragon god, such a weak person who overestimated his own capabilities would just die, and there was no need for sympathy. At the same time, high in the sky near the realm wall, the spotted loli, who was competing with Sandala Letitia and Black Rabbit, suddenly became startled. La Ting was killed. Good opportunity, Sandora naturally saw the moment when her opponent lost consciousness. Her petite body leaned back, and then a stream of flames spurted out from her nose. Black Rabbit and Letitia naturally seized this momentary opportunity, and 2 spears were thrown out at the same time in conjunction with Sandora's flames. Damn it, there was only time to let out a curse, and then the pitch-black wind started blowing. Boom! The flame bombs bombarded the barrier and exploded violently. The splashing flames illuminated the night sky, and the 2 long spears trembling in the void could be clearly seen. 1 gold and 1 red, 2 spears were nailed to the pitch-black barrier. Behind the barrier, the spotted loli lowered her head and held the tips of the 2 spears with her hands raised upwards. Blood slowly flowed from her palm. It doesn't work like this. The 3 people's joint attack only caused the opponent to bleed a little, and Letitia opened her mouth in surprise. It can't be said that it has no effect. At least the other party is injured and bleeding, Sandora on the side said. You guys. His shoulders trembled, and then he clenched his hands fiercely. There was a crisp sound of click, click, and then Letitia's red spear was directly crushed into pieces, and Indra's spear, which exuded the majestic righteousness of golden thunder, was thrown back by the girl. With a thrilling dodge, Black Rabbit dodged the spear that was thrown back. Black Rabbit watched with fear as the spear flew to the ground like a meteor, causing a violent explosion and bright golden thunder. Now you are really irritating me. At the same time, the spotted girl raised her head and said to the three people in an extremely cold voice, and then a strange aura slowly spread from her body. This aura is, God. Black Rabbit noticed something was wrong and shouted in surprise. I thought Shiroyasha was dead, so I planned to spend some time playing with you, the spotted girl said, her expression suddenly turned ferocious. But you are so ignorant that you dare to kill Latang, as the girl shouted angrily, a crazy jet black storm surged out from around her petite body. Danger! You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, BasedonanAnime. Chapter 369. Although the three girls were retreating quickly, they were still a little too slow. They were instantly repelled by this unprepared attack. They only had time to let out a surprised cry before they were struck by this sudden pitch-black storm. Swept aside. Cough cough cough, it's this strange wind again, stronger than the one before. Covering her mouth and coughing in a low voice, Letitia opened her dark red wings and flew towards it with difficulty. No. Her target is the innocent audience below. Black Rabbit immediately realized what was happening and shouted in panic when he realized that the pitch-black storm was just blowing by but had no intention of attacking him and the others. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, the wind can't blow it down. Just when Black Rabbit was talking so nervously, Yayu's voice sounded faintly. He did not participate in the encirclement and suppression battle of the three girls, because if he took action, the evenly matched confrontation would be broken in an instant, and once his power is used, it may cause even worse consequences than this Demon King. At least Yayu is not sure what kind of impact the cold air he inadvertently leaked will have on the ordinary people below, and once his power is used, it will also put a great burden on Shandora, the little fire dragon. With the restraint of attributes and the absolute suppressive power derived from Nesha and Nisa's bloodline, I am afraid that by then I will steal all the limelight from Sandora, a class ruler, and will also make this little girl look embarrassed. In that case, the situation that some people have painstakingly arranged may be completely broken by themselves. While the three girls were fighting the Demon King, Yayu thought about a lot of things, and soon discovered something strange. Why is there a Demon King attacking the Fire Dragon Birth Festival? First of all, this is very unscientific, because the number of times the Fire Dragon Birth Festival has been attacked by the devil is 0. No blind Demon King would cause trouble at a festival like this, because this is a festival held by class rulers. In addition to the powerful community, there are also 2 class rulers sitting in charge. To attack such a festival and say something unpleasant is to seek death. But this time, at the Fire Dragon Birth Festival, a Demon King who did not know whether to live or die appeared. Indeed, Sandora, the newly appointed class ruler, is still young and may not be very strong. But Shirayasha is a powerful person who has been famous for a long time. The average Demon King would be too scared to show up when hearing her name. The Demon King who appeared seemed to have planned to trap the powerful class ruler Shiroyaksha, and then deal with Sandora, an inexperienced class ruler. If the Demon King who launched the attack was at the level of Nayashanisa, or even a little closer to the level of Kel'Thuzad, Yayu would not be confused and would only think that this was a normal Demon King attack. But that was not the case. The Demon King who launched the attack was too weak. Although I don't know what kind of means they used to restrain Shiroyaksha, the absolute strength of the girl Demon King in front of them is really not enough. Not to mention Neshana, Nessa, and Kel'Thuzad, maybe Off-Eyes can defeat her easily, right? So now, the question is, why would such a weak Demon King attack the Fire Dragon Birth Festival? Seeing Sandora's heroic appearance in the battle, Yayu already understood all this. There is no doubt that this time the Demon King's attack was a self-directed and self-acted drama, a drama that increased the prestige of Sandora, a class ruler. The dark wind blew down, and the 3 women above were helpless. In fact, The same was true for Yayu, so he planned to use a stupid method to stop the oncoming storm. The temperature above the sky slowly dropped, and with the crackling sound, strange existences gradually emerged from the night sky. It was ice, ice as thin as cicada wings. But the cage made of this thin layer of frost easily blocked the pitch-black storm that filled the sky. How is it possible? What on earth did you do? Seeing that her storm was easily blocked, the girl devil wearing a spotted pattern dress asked with anger and confusion. It's just like what you see, just frost. Yeah, you said this with a chuckle, but this answer made the girl even more angry. Are you kidding me? I am the incarnation of the resentment of the tragic life amid death and the Black Death, condensed and sublimated into a godlike existence, Pest, the god of death with black death spots. Waving her wide sleeves and facing Yayu and others, the girl named Pest spoke condescendingly. How can a mere mortal resist my power? Mortal, I may disappoint you. No matter how you look at it, I am no longer a mortal. As Yayu said this, he slowly walked forward. As if he were stepping on invisible stairs, he lifted into the air bit by bit and walked towards Pest. As Yayu advanced, a terrifying chill filled the night sky, and even Shandora, who had the gift of the fire dragon, couldn't help but tremble. Humph, you can only limit my plague. I want to see how long you can limit it. Soon he noticed the crux of the problem. As he spoke, Pest waved his sleeves and increased the output of the storm. For a moment, the sound of shattering frost sounded from the barrier created by Yayu. I have changed my mind. Now I want to kill everyone below. No one will be left. All of them will be buried with Latang. Damn it, the first person who couldn't help but be excited was Sandora. After all, most of the people below were members of her community. Sandora, don't be impulsive, Letitia, who grabbed the black rabbit, only had time to shout, and the young class ruler rushed forward with blazing flames wrapped around his body. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and Pest showed a cunning smile. The current situation is that she is passive, and all her attacks are blocked by Yayu, but if Sandora rushes up like this, she will be within her attack range. Thinking so proudly in his heart, the jet black wind of death lingered in his cuffs again. Suffer death. Demon King, an excited Shandora rushed forward and spewed out a mouthful of blazing flames. Haha, with the wind of death waving, Pest greeted Sandora with a smile. The fire bomb did not even explode as expected. It seemed to be eroded. As the black wind of death blew, it turned into sparks and disappeared into the sky. The pitch-black wind continued unabated and struck directly towards Shandora looked desperate. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, BasedonanAnime. Chapter 370. No. Lady Sandora, Black Rabbit, who had calmed down, immediately discovered Sandora who was in dire straits, but the two of them were obviously powerless to rescue her. Are you the descendant of the Star Sea Dragon King? Such strength is really embarrassing to your ancestors. With an evil smile on his face, Pest quietly admired the helplessness and despair on the other person's face as he faced death. Yayu, on the other side, had a look of helplessness. After all, she was only an 11-year-old girl. He had already deliberately planned to give her the credit for defeating the Demon King, but he was still so uncool. Originally, he planned to let Sandora burn all these pitch-black storms, but the enraged girl just rushed over. Come on, now he has to save her himself. Just when Yayu was thinking this, a purple figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This figure appeared ghostly in front of Sandora, and then shattered the pitch-black storm that was about to drive Sandora to death. What? Pest's face once again showed an expression of extreme surprise, and Sandora also breathed a sigh of relief after seeing clearly who the person who saved her was. If this lord is here, then there is nothing to worry about, but why, as the Demon King, does this lord appear here? Logically speaking, this is an attack by the Demon King, and the adult in front of him has no reason or position to help. The gifts shattered by Naisha were flying all over the sky like stardust, floating down around her, and the little brilliance reflected the girl, sketching a stunning picture in the night sky. Picture scroll. My gift was shattered, Pest said in disbelief as she looked at the sudden appearance of this mysterious girl. She was a demon king with divine status, and her gift was actually destroyed in front of her like this. The girl was simply crushed to pieces. An obscure and ominous aura emanated from the girl in front of him. The spiral-shaped dragon horns and restless swaying dragon tail reminded Pest of the identity of the other party. The Demon King, and could this posture be said to be the pure blood of a dragon? I was careless. I didn't expect that there is an existence of Shiro Yaksha's level here. Pest said this with some difficulty. Even she couldn't tell how strong Shiro Yasha was, and the girl in front of her even gave her a more terrifying sense of oppression than Shiro Yasha. Well, Nationaza, aren't you the one who won't take action? Looking at the sudden appearance of the small dragon girl, Yayu asked curiously. He closed his hands, and immediately the black storm and frost in the sky were wiped out in the void. And seeing him break his attack so easily, the expression on Pest's face became stiff again. Not only was this dragon girl who suddenly appeared, but was this man so strong? Well, I didn't want to take action at first, but they found me. I don't know the so-called guy, so I had to take action and teach him a lesson. Naisha said so casually, but Pest's little face on the other side was instantly distorted. Did you kill Latang? Looking at the purple girl in front of him without saying a word, Pest's eyes became cold. Murderous intent began to spread quietly. Oh, are you talking about the woman with the flute? Nationaza said while looking at Pest, showing a very interested expression. She was too weak, so I killed her casually. But you looked pretty good. Although you are a new demon king, you are worth looking forward to. Pest has always had an expression of gnashing her teeth, not only because the other party killed her loyal subordinate Latang, but also because of the other party's strength that made her a little desperate. The wind of plague she relied on had almost no effect on the other party, and the other party's mere standing there had already brought her indescribable pressure. Surrender, Demon King, you have no chance of winning. With the appearance of Nesha and Nisa, not only Sandora, but also Black Rabbit and Letitia, who had recovered their senses, moved closer to form an encirclement, fearing that the Demon King girl in front of them would escape or do something devastating. At the same time, Yayu also came closer. Nation and Naisha glanced at him slightly and then spoke curiously. You can obviously get rid of this little girl easily, why do you keep watching and not taking action? When Nationaza said this, Yayu showed a somewhat embarrassed look on his face. Nation and Nasa did not lower their voices, so her words were also heard by Black Rabbit, Letitia, Sandora, and others on the side. Especially Shandora, the girl seems to want to ask Yayu the reason for doing this, but obviously now is not the time to ask this question. It is better to subdue the devil girl in front of her first. Although he was surrounded, it was obvious that Pest had no intention of sitting still and waiting for death. The body of the angry Demon King girl suddenly retreated violently, waving her wide sleeves causing the rustling sound of the wind, and then was lifted to the top of her head again. Following Pest's movements, the whistling wind became louder again. Everyone, be careful. His face was blown by the strong wind and he couldn't open his eyes. He noticed the unnatural power fluctuations on Pest's body, and Black Rabbit couldn't help but worry. Kill, kill, kill. I'm going to kill you all. A pair of eyes stared fiercely at Nesha and Nisa, and the pitch-black storm gathered from Pest's hands and rushed towards the sky. The black wind that penetrated the sea of clouds dispersed the clouds at the moment of rushing, and then dispersed in the mouth, like an open palm reaching downwards. The air in the sky began to rot, and the smell of death spread with the falling storm. Unlike the previous disease-like storm, this is a storm that brings death. This is the absolute power that belongs to the god of death, Jepist, which gives the power of death to living creatures. The wind that gives the gift of death. As a god of death, although he is only a god of death who has mastered the simple rules of death, as a god, his ability to directly grant death to his target cannot be underestimated. The so-called gods are entities that can control and even bestow gifts at will. Pest can even bestow godhood on other people, allowing them to become their own godly beings. At this moment, what was given to everyone in front of him, including the entire Fire Dragon birth festival, was his own gift, the gift of death. As the god of death, I grant you death.